Picture a chariot. 5 wild horses out front, straining at their reins. The driver, gripping those reins, eyes on the road. And the warrior passenger, calm, watching everything. That's not a battle scene. That's you. According to a text written 2,800 years ago, that's a working diagram of your mind. The image comes from the Katha Upanishad, part of a body of ancient Indian philosophy that predates Plato by centuries. The body is the chariot. The 5 senses are the horses. The mind is the reins. The intellect is the driver. And the quiet passenger is the deepest part of you, the part that just watches. What's wild is how accurate this turns out to be. Modern neuroscience, cognitive therapy, polyvagal theory, and positive psychology have spent the last 50 years independently rediscovering pieces of this map. While the ancients didn't have brain scanners, they had something almost as useful. 3,000 years of paying attention. The human mind hasn't changed all that much in thousands of years. What the ancients learned back then is still relevant today. Here are 8 specific tools from this tradition for managing daily stress. Everyone has a modern scientific parallel. All can fit into your day starting tomorrow. We'll keep the chariot in mind the whole way through, and end with a practical week-by-week guide. A quick history lesson. In ancient India, the Vedas came first, around 1500 BCE hymns and rituals. Then the Upanishads, asking the deeper question, what is the self that experiences anything? Then the Bhagavad Gita, a battlefield dialogue. Then Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, a 196-line user manual for the mind. Don't worry, there's no quiz. Across all of it runs one stubborn idea: suffering doesn't come from events. It comes from the mind's relationship to events. Same traffic jam, 2 drivers. One calm, one furious. The traffic is identical. The relationship is the variable, and that relationship is trainable. If these sounds familiar, there are parallels in Western history too, like Stoicism. Let's start with the most famous line in the Bhagavad Gita. You have a right to action, never to its fruits. Translation, you control your effort. You don't control the outcome. Tying your peace of mind to outcomes, to the promotion, the reply, the result, is signing up for a lifetime of low-grade anxiety. This is not don't care. It's not fatalism. The Gita's narrator literally tells the panicking warrior to fight harder, not less. It's full engagement, minus the obsessive grasping. Effort, yours. Outcome, not yours. 2 separate accounts, but only one is under your control. 500 years later, on the other side of the world, a Greek philosopher named Epictetus said the same thing in different words. Some things are up to us, others are not. He hadn't read the Gita. The Stoics independently arrived at the identical insight. When 2 ancient traditions converge, pay attention. Tool 2 from the same text, equanimity. The Gita's actual definition of yoga isn't a posture or a stretch. It's evenness of mind, neither inflated by success nor crushed by failure. Yoga, before it became a leggings industry, was this: a steady inner weather while the outer weather changes. A small, true story. When Gandhi was thrown off South African trains in his 20s for being Indian, he didn't fall apart. He credited his composure to this exact teaching. He called the Gita his spiritual dictionary. The teaching wasn't theoretical. It was a tool he reached for, on platforms, in the cold. Now here's where this gets real. You'd expect ancient texts to be pretty and poetic, and mostly useless on a Tuesday afternoon. They're not. Modern researchers keep finding the precise mechanisms these traditions describe from the inside. The most rigorous example is breath, and the science here is not subtle. Tool 3, breath regulation, which the tradition calls pranayama. The breath is the only function of your nervous system you can both let happen automatically and consciously override. That makes it a kind of dial, the one place where conscious you can directly retune unconscious you. Unsurprisingly, the ancients noticed this. And modern neuroscience confirms it almost embarrassingly well. A 2025 review in Neuroscience and Biobehavioral Reviews calls slow breathing self-directed neuromodulation. Slow nasal breathing with a longer exhale stimulates the vagus nerve, raises heart rate variability, and shifts the body from fight or flight into rest and digest. 44 randomized trials back this up. Tool 4. The Upanishads describe a part of you they call the witness. Not the part that thinks, the part that notices the thinking. Thoughts are weather, the witness is the sky. You are not your anxiety. You are what notices the anxiety. This tiny shift can have enormous consequences. Modern psychology has a name for this exact move. Acceptance and commitment therapy, developed in the 1980s, calls it self as context. Cognitive therapy calls it cognitive diffusion. Harvard MGH researchers Sarah Lazar and Britta Holzell have shown that 8 weeks of this kind of practice produces measurable gray matter changes in the brain. Tool 5. Patanjali 2,000 years ago identified a problem he called pratyahara, withdrawal from sensory input. He noticed that the senses are constantly eating the world. Sights, sounds, opinions, faces. A mind-fed junk input becomes a junk mind. He prescribed periodic fasting from sensory food. He wrote this 2,000 years before the smartphone. Today, the average adult consumes about 11 hours of media a day. 11. That's not a sensory diet. That's a sensory buffet that never closes. Of all 8 tools in this video, this one may be the most urgently needed in 2026. Tool 6. Patanjali also wrote a line that says, "From contentment comes unsurpassed happiness." Translation, happiness doesn't come from getting more. It comes from needing less. This is not the same as settling. It's separating contentment from circumstance. So you pursue improvement from a place of fullness, not lack. Modern positive psychology has tested this. Martin Seligman's 3 Blessings study asked people to write 3 things that went well each day, and why. 1 week of this. Measurable increases in well-being lasting up to 6 months. 6 months of mood improvement from a 1-week journaling exercise. That's a stunning return on investment. Tool 7. Self-study. The original journaling practice, 23 centuries before journaling apps. The premise is simple. You cannot change a pattern you cannot see. Most of our suffering runs on automatic, unexamined mental habits. Self-study is the daily discipline of looking under the hood of your own mind. A pre-structured guided journal removes the friction of remembering the format. The neuroscientist Dan Siegel has shown that habitual self-reflection literally strengthens the prefrontal circuits that regulate emotional reactivity. James Pennebaker's expressive writing studies, replicated for decades now, show reductions in anxiety and even improvements in immune function. Writing about what bothers you is, at the level of biology, a form of medicine. Tool 8, and maybe the deepest. The Gita uses the word dharma, your particular calling, the work that's actually yours to do. The teacher Stephen Cope argues most people are already living within spitting distance of their dharma. They've just never named it. And unnamed purpose is unlived purpose. This is the same thing Aristotle called eudaimonia, flourishing through expressing your nature. It's what Viktor Frankl meant when he said meaning is the primary buffer against suffering. Self-determination theory, the most validated theory of motivation in modern psychology, lands on the same 3 ingredients: autonomy, competence, connection. Different language, same finding. Now back to the chariot we started with. Look at what we've actually built. Breath calms the horses. Sense withdrawal reins them in. The witness is the passenger remembering who they are. Action without attachment is how the driver drives. Equanimity is the road's surface. Purpose is the direction. Everything fits. The remarkable thing isn't that an old tradition figured this out. It's that modern research keeps independently arriving at the same conclusions. Different continents, different languages, one finding. We suffer from our relationship to experience, not from experience itself. And that relationship is trainable. So how do you actually train it? Here's the practical week. Start with breath, because the science is the most rigorous and the cost is the lowest. Inhale 4 counts, hold 7, exhale 8, 3 rounds. The longer exhale is the active ingredient. That's what flips the vagal switch. A handheld breath pacer that physically expands and contracts in your palm makes the rhythm effortless. Use it in traffic, before sleep, before hard meetings. Then 4 practices that each fit in 5 minutes. Before any task, write 2 lists. What's in your hands, what isn't. Sit 5 minutes and watch your thoughts drift like clouds. A small tabletop water fountain or white noise machine gives wandering attention something gentle to return to. At night, write 3 things that went well. End each day with 3 questions about your triggers. Then, one bigger commitment. A daily sensory Sabbath. Pick one 30-minute window, phone in another room. If you have trouble sticking to this plan, get Phone Lockbox with a built-in timer, a box you can't open until the time runs out. Solves the actual hard part, willpower at the moment of reaching. Eat, walk, or sit. The first 3 days will feel uncomfortable. That discomfort is the practice working. And 2 background settings to carry through the whole day. When something good or bad happens, pause and silently say, "This too, just another wave." Don't identify with the mood. And 1 structural tip. A dedicated meditation area with a comfortable cushion in one corner of one room makes the practice 10 times more likely to stick. Behavior change research is unambiguous. Physical cues matter more than motivation. If you do one thing, do the breath. 90 seconds, 3 times tomorrow. That's it. The chariot won't transform overnight. The horses are old habits, and they're strong. But the moment you remember there's a passenger in the back, watching all of it, something quietly, durably begins to shift. The ancients noticed.